There is a constant interaction between land and organisms. When living organisms die, their body change into compost and release minerals in the soil. Plants get these minerals from the soil. This cycle of interaction goes on repeating. In the same way, rocks disintegrate and from soil, and soil is lumped together to form rocks. This process also goes on forever. This way, the land plays an important role in natural environment. Sunlight is one of the most important components of the natural environment. The sun supplies light and heat. Organisms need light and heat for their survival. In the absence of sunlight, we cannot imagine life on the earth. The heat of the sun helps the air flow around. Plants prepare their food in the presence of sunlight. Water cycles depends on sunlight. When water or of the sea and oceans to other source is heated, it changes into vapor in the cloud and falls back on the land in the form of rain. This way, sunlight plays a vital role to create and maintain the living environment on the earth. Plants are the living components of natural environment. They grow on land and prepare their food on their own. There are a variety of plants on the earth. Plants play an important role for the survival of animals. All animals, directly or indirectly, get their food from plants. Plants provide habitat to wild animals. This way, plants help biodiversity to exist and continue on the earth. Animals, like plants, animals are also important living components of the natural environment. Animals, big and small, need food. On the basis of food habits, animals are placed in three groups. They are herbivorous, carnivorous, and omnivorous. Herbivorous eat plants, carnivorous eat herbivorous, and omnivorous eat both plants and animals. When animals die, their body decompose and change into minerals in the soil. Plants get minerals from the soil. This cycle of interaction between animals and plants goes on forever. This interactive relationship helps the natural environment and biodiversity maintain their balance. Now let's go through ecosystem. There are two components in ecosystem, and they are biotic components and abiotic components. Non-living things such as air, water, soil, and sunlight are abiotic components and ecosystem. Biotic components, plants, animals, and microorganisms present in our surroundings are living things. They are called biotic components of the ecosystem. Producers, autotrophs. An ecosystem has a large number of producers. Green plants such as algae, moss, fern, grass, food crops, vegetables, and fruits are producers. They prepare their own food by way of photosynthesis. Being self-producers of food, plants cannot make food without air, water, sunlight, and heat. The food of plants is called starch. Producers or the plants provide food to animals. Consumers. Heterotrophs. Animals in an ecosystem are consumers. They do not make their food, they consume the food prepared by plants. Directly or indirectly, both terrestrial and aquatic animals depend on the plants for their food. They get their food from plants in different ways based on how they consume food. Consumers are also classified into three categories: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Decomposers. Nature has a way to strike a dynamic balance between living and non living worlds. When a living being dies, it mixes into soil through the action of decomposers. The components from the living world get mixed into the non living world. Decomposers are the organisms that break down the organic materials from the remains of the dead animals and plants. These is tiny little creatures get their energy from eating the organic materials from the dead bodies. Decomposers include bacteria and fungi. Mushrooms are a type of fungus that have a role in the decomposers. Decomposers play an important role in every ecosystem. Decomposition allowed organic materials to be recycled into the ecosystem. Without decomposers, dead organisms will not be broken down and recycled into other living matters. This process goes on in the ecosystem forever. Types of ecosystem. Broadly, ecosystem can be divided into two groups: aquatic and terrestrial. Aquatic ecosystem. The continuous and complex relationship between living beings themselves and their non-living environment in water is called an aquatic ecosystem. Water bodies have an aquatic ecosystem. They type of water such as fresh water and salt water determines which animals and plants live there. A pond ecosystem is an example of an aquatic ecosystem as well. Terrestrial ecosystem. The continuous and complex relationship between living beings themselves and their non-living environment in land is called a terrestrial ecosystem. Example of terrestrial ecosystem are a forest ecosystem and a grass ecosystem and a desert ecosystem. In this unit, we will focus on a forest ecosystem. The continuous and the complex relationship between living beings themselves and their non-living beings environment in a forest is called a forest ecosystem. It is a dynamic and complex relationship of plants, animals, and microorganisms with abiotic and biotic components of the forest. Trees are the key components of forest ecosystem. Forest ecosystems differ from one another based on the type of the forest in question. Biotic components of the forest ecosystem. Biotic components of the forest ecosystem including producers, plants, consumers, animals, and decomposers, fungi, and bacteria. Green plants are called producers. This is because they produce food for themselves as well as for animals. Consumers consume food prepared by the green plants in forest ecosystem. Primary consumers are insects, squirrels, porcupines, deers, monkeys, zebra, elephants, rhinos, wild buffaloes, etc. They eat plants or products of plants. The food energy is transferred from primary consumers to secondary consumers. When animals such as toads, wolves, and snakes, eggs, bears, etc., eat primary consumers, the tertiary or the top consumers of the forest ecosystem, for example, are leopards, sand owls, etc. From secondary consumers, food energy passes to tertiary consumers or top consumers. Dead plants and animals are or their parts are eaten by bugs and beetles. The remaining matter is digested by decomposers, namely bacteria and fungi. Decomposers break those organic matter into simpler substances like minerals. These minerals make the soil fertile for the growth of plants. This way of forest ecosystem continues to exist. Thank you. This much for today. Hope you understand and the today's topic forest ecosystem and the environment and its balance. Thank you.